Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan. Howard Phillips Lovecraft sits at the helm of American cosmic horror, fantasy, and weird science fiction. It all began when he developed his Cthulhu mythos, a shared fictional universe that was expanded by other writers who were inspired by Lovecraft himself. This mythos focuses on mankind's irrelevance in the face of cosmic horrors relevant to the universe. Entities known as the Outer Gods, Elder Gods, and the Great Old Ones seemingly have powers beyond human comprehension, so much so that they cannot be explained in terms such as telekinesis and high IQ, like we normally would use to describe the mutants from the X-Men or any other fictional superpowered beings. And at the very center of it all is the Great Old One, known as Cthulhu, who is the VIP of today's video, as we intend to discuss his family tree. But before we get into our content, we do have one very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel, and make sure you hit that bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content. We would be very grateful to you, and we hope to bring you the best nerdy content. So, without any further ado, let's get into Cthulhu's family history. A great old one with a greater impact across media, Lovecraft's brainchild and the core of the Cthulhu mythos. H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu made his first appearance in February 1928, making his debut in a magazine called Weird Tales. The first Cthulhu was portrayed in his stereotypical octopoid glory, making him the image of what we think of when we think of the Cthulhu mythos. He is enormously powerful, and the first great old one that we are exposed to. He lives in the underwater city of Urlier, located beneath the Pacific Ocean. However, he constantly rests in a death-like slumber. For context, the Great Old Ones are malignant, visceral beings in the Cthulhu mythos, and they used to live on Earth as its gods and rulers a long time ago. Cthulhu eventually goes on to appear in the works of numerous authors across the realm of pop fiction, which takes inspiration from Lovecraft's mythos. Statues of Cthulhu have often portrayed Cthulhu as an amalgamation of an octopus and a dragon, alongside some other humanoid elements. He is hundreds of meters tall, with a bulbous head similar to that of an octopus. His arms are webbed with human-like appearance. His body is grotesque and scaly, and while he is tentacled, he has rudimentary wings. Not just Cthulhu, but all of the Great Old Ones are also said to be telepathic beings who are so much aware of everything that is occurring across the universe. Having previously acted as the gods and rulers of Earth, they communicated with the first humans as they molded their dreams. Via these dreams, they laid the foundation for humans to eventually start the Cthulhu cult. This brings us to the question, what led them to losing their rulership? And why did they want a cult dedicated to themselves? Before the birth of man, benevolent beings known as the Elder Gods imprisoned the Great Old Ones. However, freeing them again was not as simple as using force, as they could only be freed when the stars were just right. As such, after mankind's appearance, the Great Old Ones communicated with them in their dreams by showing them images of Cthulhu and molding their minds. They needed the humans to perform certain rites and rituals to attain their freedom. Based on the dream imageries, the humans created sculptures of Cthulhu to use in their black magic rituals, with the hope that following the revival of the Great Old Ones, the latter will grant the humans a role. Unfortunately for the Great Old Ones, R'lyeh went on to sink under the water, cutting Cthulhu off from the world that he wished to return to. The cult of Cthulhu were not the only worshippers of the Great Old Ones, however. Non-human, ocean-dwelling creatures known as the Deep Ones, who appeared in Lovecraft's The Shadow over Innsmouth and the film Dagon, were also a part of the cult and dedicated to bringing forth Cthulhu's reign once again. With today's video being all about the family of Cthulhu, it is evident that Cthulhu is far from being the only one of his kind. Across several writings, we have learned that Cthulhu is the descendant of the Outer God Yog-Sothoth. The Outer Gods are mostly residents of deep space, although some did go on to live on Earth. Cthulhu also found a mate in the androgynous Great Old One named Idia. Naturally, the two went on to procreate with one another. To understand Cthulhu's family tree better, and in more detail, let's go over all things from the top. The entire family of Cthulhu. Number 1. Azathoth, great-great-grandfather. An outer god as well as a supreme omnipotent being, Azathoth is Cthulhu's great-great-grandfather, who is also known as the Deep Dark, the Blind Idiot God, the Cold One, the Demon Sultan, and the Nuclear Chaos. Unlike Cthulhu, however, Azathoth's physical appearance cannot be described, considering the fact that not only is he always changing, but everyone perceives him differently. While several accounts have portrayed him as someone with a monstrous physical appearance due to his bestial mouthless face, polypus appendages, and deep-sunk eyes, other accounts have reported him to resemble an enormous black sentient hole. His worshippers are insects from the fictional town of Goatswood, who are known for practicing obscene rites by committing atrocious acts on living victims, in a temple dedicated to Azathoth. They are originally from a planet called Shagai, but relocated to Goatsmouth following the planet's destruction. Number 2. Yog-Sothoth, grandfather. Coming back to Yog-Sothoth, who we have previously mentioned as an outer god, he is the grandfather of Cthulhu, and is a being that is very integral to the core of the Cthulhu mythos. He was born of another outer god referred to as the Nameless Mist. Similar to Azathoth, Yog-Sothoth's appearance has differed across various stories related to the Cthulhu mythos. However, each appearance accounts for a similarity with reference to Yog-Sothoth manifesting as a mass of glowing orbs. In some cases, he seemingly had tendrils and eyes. Omniscient and locked outside the universe, he gets to see everything in a space-time all at once, making him knowledgeable of every little detail. In one of Lovecraft's short stories, known as Through the Gates of the Silver Key, which the writer had co-written with E. Hoffman Price in the early 1930s, Yog-Sothoth was shown to be capable of speech. Mortals often call upon him as they perform occult rituals, such as the ones where essential salts were used on deceased people to bring them back from their deaths. In another instance, he was summoned to impregnate a woman, resulting in the birth of 2 half-human children. The character also appeared in popular media, such as BBC's Doctor Who. Number 3. Shub-Niggurath, grandmother. Cthulhu's grandmother, Shub-Niggurath, who has also appeared in the Doctor Who mythos, although not as an individual character, but more as someone whose existence was implied with Nestine consciousness, being an offspring of Shub-Niggurath. The consciousness has appeared as a recurring addition across several Doctor Who novels, keeping Shub-Niggurath's influence intact. Also an outer god, or rather a goddess, Shub-Niggurath is also known as the Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young. She appeared in Lovecraft's The Last Test in 1928, and has gone on to appear in the works of other authors such as Brian Lumley, Ramsey Campbell, Lynn Carter, and August Derleth. But as we saw in Doctor Who, Shub-Niggurath doesn't get an opportunity where one can define her per se. This is due to the fact that she is mostly called during the incantations, or just simply mentioned. According to Lovecraft's selected letters, Shub-Niggurath is a perverse deity of fertility, who appears as a malevolent, cloud-like entity. She is a mass with black tentacles, a mouth that drips with slime, and legs that are goat-like and short. She is the most extensively worshipped deity from the Cthulhu mythos, with the likes of Muvians, Hyperboreans, and the people of Sarnath being her worshippers. Non-human species, such as the Mygo, the Kenyanians, the Nugsloth of the Yadith, and humans from barbaric cults are also known for worshipping her. Her worshippers tend to summon her to the woodlands on the new moon, but we never know the location of where she comes from. According to several sources, she may reside in a separate dimension, or beneath the planet of Yadith, or even at the center of the universe, dwelling at the court of Azathoth. She has mated with beings such as Yog-Sothoth and Hastur, and produced many other beings within the Cthulhu mythos. However, confusion prevails with reference to her relationship with Yig, who she might have mated with to produce Biatis. At the same time, it is debated that Shub-Niggurath is Yig's mother. Number 4. Nug, parent. Shub-Niggurath's offspring with Yog-Sothoth, well, allegedly anyways, are the twins, Nug and Yeb, with them spawning from the doomed nebula of Zly-Carrior. The reason why we are only referring to Nug here is because Nug happens to be Cthulhu's immediate parent. However, he also may be the father to Hastur. Often referred to as the father of ghouls, due to him being a god among the ghouls, Nug is 10 feet in diameter and resembles Shub-Niggurath. With his twin, Nug is worshipped in Iram and Canaan, among other places. Old texts also mention how Nug is the creator and keeper of a garden that is home to Yig. Both Nug and Yeb are tasked with clearing the earth, preparing the planet for the return of the Great Old Ones. For this purpose, he used the Torch of Nug. However, Nug allegedly never lived on Earth, although he may have appeared near Kadath. Interestingly, Nug is one of the few Great Ones alongside Shub-Niggurath, Yeb, and Yig who are willing to take humanity's side in their battle against the hostile Great Old One, known as Ghatanothoa. Number 5. Cathanid, brother. Unlike the previous entries on this list, Cathanid is an elder god who was not created by Lovecraft, but by the British author Brian Lumley. Allegedly the brother of Cthulhu, Cathanid boasts the same colossal, visceral appearance as his sibling. On the flip side, however, Cathanid is as good as Cthulhu is evil, with a prominent air of benevolence surrounding him. This only makes sense as the Elder Ones are benevolent. Unlike the Great Old Ones, Cathanid is the head of the Elder God pantheon and opposes the malevolent Outer Gods and the Great Old Ones. He resides in a vast crystal palace alongside the other Elder Gods, at the center of the extra-dimensional plane of Elysia. Being an Elder God comes with powers that cannot be explained to humans due to its incomprehensible nature. However, the mythos does refer to certain abilities that we can understand due to its magical nature, such as his Banishing Blast, which directs pure energy from Cathanid to his opponents, banishing them from the planes of reality that they had come from. He can also project his consciousness anywhere in the cosmos, and interact with living beings as he pleases. Using his crystalline viewing monitor, he can predict how a certain action in any dimension will affect the future. Using this prescience, he makes his plans accordingly. In one of his battles against the Great Old Ones, Cathanid summons the help of the Titus Crow, a cosmic time traveler who eventually fell in love with Cathanid's daughter, Tyannia. Number 6. Narku, brother. Cthulhu had another brother, Hanarku, who was on the same bandwagon of malevolence as his sibling due to being a great old one. He often manifested as a being with a titanic mouth that was surrounded by uncountable tentacles, making him the exaggerated version of a great sea anemone. Number 7. Kasogtha, sister, and also his mate. Well, the Cthulhu mythos is no stranger to some inbreeding, much like Greek mythology where Zeus and Hera are quite literally siblings. And as such, we have Cthulhu's sister and also his mate, Kasogtha, a great old one who was created by Joseph S. Pulver Jr. for his novel, Nightmare's Disciple. With Cthulhu, she birthed Nyctosa and Nicolou. In terms of appearance, she is a writhing mass of tentacles. In terms of nature, she is a cosmic parasite who can merge with other entities and cause the birth of her offspring. In fact, this is the reason why she is often unheard of in the mythos lore. She is seldom encountered as well, considering she has merged with some other being. Due to her parasitic nature, she has often been described as somewhat of a disease, not just by authors, but by other cosmic beings as well, since no one is too fond of becoming her prey. Her act of merging with Cthulhu has been referred to as torturous and near lethal, requiring Cthulhu to use all of his strength to get rid of her. While she is by herself and not acting as a parasite to any entity, Kasogtha seemingly dwells in a massive body of water-like liquid, but she retains her reputation as a disease as she pollutes the water body she is inhabiting, resulting in the spread of disease wherever she goes. Scholars have time and time again called her a cosmic sickness that seeps into life and corrupts it with her foul ways. Her touch rots the life on planets, and humans and animals get struck with illnesses. This is also why her followers and worshippers are the most crazed, considering the fact that they are calling upon disease. Her followers are often called practitioners of magic, and it's allegedly a human from her cult who released a mustard gas in a subway in 1921 New York. They allegedly partake in ritual torture and murder as a form of worshipping the disease-like entity. However, not everything about Kasogtha is as dystopian as it may sound. For starters, her Hand of Sickness ability grants an individual immunity to disease. But wait, you know what? We take back any positive comment about her, because this ability makes a person immune only to make them capable of carrying every earthly and alien disease, allowing them to trigger epidemics by infecting others. Kasogtha forms a psychic link with a worshipper and forces them to perceive the messages of the Great Old Ones in the form of horrifying languages that causes the person both mental and physical pain. It also drains the person's sanity, giving them a deranged outlook on life that often results in becoming murderous. Fortunately, there are very rare contacts with this sickly being. Number 8. Hastur the Unspeakable, half-brother. We have previously mentioned him while discussing Cthulhu's father, Nug. Another one of Cthulhu's brothers, Hastur the Unspeakable, is mentioned only in one of Lovecraft's work, and in this case, it's the Whisper in Darkness. This great old one, who spawned from Yog-Sothoth, was originally created by Ambrose Bierce for a story where Hastur was referenced to as a god of shepherds. However, he was shown to be more benevolent in this story when compared to his appearance in August Derth's mythological stories. He has several avatars, appearing as a shriveled, monstrous creature with sharp talons and tentacles when he was a feaster from afar. In several cases, Hastur has also been used not only to reference a deity or even a person, but also a place. Hastur is worshipped by a Stockholm-based coterie known as the Carcosa Foundation. Number 9. Kathagaia, half-sister. Okay, enough about Cthulhu's brothers for a moment. It's time for us to introduce his half-sister, Kathagaia. But like Kasogtha, she is also his mate. She has spawned the Cthulhu, or the star spawn of Cthulhu, and as usual, has an octopoid visceral appearance. Like Cthulhu, his offspring with Kathagaia also waged war against the Elder Things on Earth. With no specific location or information about her whereabouts, it is believed that she lies dormant somewhere on Earth. Number 10. Idia, his wife or mate. Finally, a mate of Cthulhu's who is not a sibling. Idia is the wife of Cthulhu and a deity who hails from a planet in the Zoth star system. Created by Lynn Carter, Idia is androgynous and has also been responsible for birthing the star spawn of Cthulhu, namely Ghatanothoa, Zothomog, Cthulhu, and also Ythogtha. Number 11. Ghatanothoa, firstborn child of Cthulhu. With the first 10 entries of Cthulhu's family tree out of the way, let's finally get into his children and his descendants. Starting off with his firstborn child, Ghatanothoa, he is a dark god, making his first appearance in Hazel Harold's 1935 story, Out of the Aeons. Interestingly enough, this story was ghostwritten by H.P. Lovecraft himself. Although he is a great old one, Ghatanothoa first appeared as an elder god in Dying Bites, which is an American urban fiction novel by Don DeBrant, where he gets summoned in order to reshape the world. If his name was not horrific enough, his appearance definitely takes the cake, with Ghatanothoa being a monstrous, gigantic abomination who is infamous for being hideous. So much so that anyone who gazes on him is seemingly petrified into a living mummy, earning him titles such as patron deity demon and hellish god. Ghatanothoa arrived on Earth in prehistoric times after he was brought here by Yogothian aliens. He was later sealed in a vast trapdoor located beneath a gigantic fortress atop a mountain in the continent of Mu. As the aliens left and humanity emerged, some began to worship Ghatanothoa, as they feared the being's frightening power. They would frequently offer sacrifices to him to prevent him from re-emerging from his crypt and wreaking havoc. His cult was tremendously mighty and was opposed by the priests who worshipped Shub-Niggurath. However, the continent of Mu sank beneath the Pacific Ocean, leaving only traces of his cult in places like Persia, Egypt, China, Chaldea, Peru, Mexico, and some forgotten empires in Africa. Although we know he is hideous, he is also amorphous. According to some sources, his appearance sports a hybridization of octopus and elephant-like features, with his skin being wrinkled, scaly, and leather-like. In his crypt, Ghatanothoa lies immobilized, but his brain continues to be aware, leaving him in a state of imprisonment which he cannot be freed from unless his brain is destroyed. Number 12. Ythogtha, the second son of Cthulhu. Cthulhu's second son, Ythogtha, is a gigantic frog with a humanoid appearance and a cycloptic eye in the middle. His aquatic nature in terms of physiology gives away his identity as a deep one. He also has writhing tentacles that grow out of his head and act as his beard and mane. He was imprisoned in the abyss of Yi by the elder gods, and later the sorcerer priest Xanthu had attempted to free him. However, he was so large that the priest mistook his clawed, slimy fingertips for mountainous heads. However, he had beings serving him, such as the father of worms Ub and his subjects, the Planarian Yugs. Number 13. Xotha-Mog, the third son of Cthulhu. Xotha-Mog is the third son of Cthulhu, and another one of the great old ones. He appeared in Lynn Carter's Xothic Legend cycle. Like his siblings, Xotha-Mog is far from being handsome, with his reptilian head that resembles the head of a T-Rex, a cone-shaped body, arms with suckers like that of a starfish, and a tentacled mane. It is also believed that his walk is sluggish. He was imprisoned beneath the sea near R'lyeh and Penape by the elder gods, with the R'lyeh text and Penape scripture acting as evidence. And like Ythogtha, he is served by the Planarian-like Yugs and their lord, Father Ub. Number 14. Cthulhu, daughter of Cthulhu. Cthulhu is Cthulhu and Idya's daughter. Before coming to Earth, Cthulhu hailed from Zoth, just like her mother. Also referred to as the Kraken, she is a critical component of Cthulhu's plan, as he hopes to be birthed by her if he were ever to die in the future. For this reason, the Yagaya and the Deep Ones guard her in R'lyeh. In the open-world game known as the Sinking City, she seemingly slumbered beneath the fishing town of Oakmont, which is not too far away from the infamous fishing town known as Innsmouth. Because information about her is well hidden by the cults that follow her in order to protect her, she is also known as the Secret One. This cult had previously defaced the Columns of Geth to erase knowledge about the goddess, and in the mythos, her myth is dimly present in the Greek myth, where she is known as Scylla. In one instance, a subterranean atomic bomb was used to kill Cthulhu. However, she managed to escape despite being severely wounded. In terms of appearance, she is gigantic, octopoid, and six-eyed. She also has 6 wings that allow her to fly, and can alter her body proportions, much like her father. The cool thing about her octopoid appearance is that she is not limited to having only 8 tentacles. In fact, she can retract and spout her arms, allowing her to have up to 12 arms at once. Each arm also comes with 5-inch long razor-sharp claws. Number 15. Nyctosa and Nicolou, the twin daughters of Cthulhu. Cthulhu finds his twin spawns in Nyctola and Nicolou, who are colossal shelled beings imprisoned in Jupiter's Great Red Spot. They have 8 limbs, with 6 of them being arms and claws. Number 16. Leviathan, a child of Cthulhu. A popular name in fiction, the original Leviathan is another one of Cthulhu's spawns. The colossal shark-like creature appeared for the very first time in Ross F. Bagby's short story, The Artifacts of Quivira, where he was named by Inuit cultists. He is also referred to as a being who is identical to Behemoth. One of Leviathan's popular appearances would be him being the primary antagonist in Cyanide Studios' 2018 Chaosium RPG. Like Cthulhu, who is considered to be the source of mankind's myths revolving around sea serpents, Leviathan also shares that same reputation. Like father, like son, as they say. Leviathan is more than 50 feet in length and can bite through flesh, bone, metal, and wood with relative ease. His mouth gapes wide enough, allowing him to swallow big creatures. He appeared as a prehistoric finned fish with squid-like tentacles coming out of his jaws and a long tail in one of his manifestations. Being aquatic, Leviathan is, quite obviously, proficient in swimming. However, he can also move on land. He was discovered by the indigenous people in the 14th century, making them early victims of Leviathan's psychic control. Leviathan seemingly never harms humans directly, However, he does psychically corrupt them to make them worship Cthulhu, hoping to lead them to free his father from prison. Worshipped by the Deep Ones and the other coastal communities, Leviathan is offered sacrifices to satiate his terrifying hunger. Without his ravenous hunger under control, Leviathan is likely to go on an uncontrollable rampage, along with his swarm of sharks. At the time, there are only two ways to stop him. One can either slay him, or they have to wait for him to simply calm down. Easier said than done though, because during his rampage, Leviathan will cause enough damage, sinking ships and devouring anyone who comes across him. He was slain in 1847 by whalers from Darkwater, who referred to him as their miraculous catch. The inhabitants of the town went on to consume Leviathan's flesh, which then cursed them, turning them into cultists dedicated to reviving Cthulhu. However, he was freed in 1924 by the private investigator Edward Pierce, following which Leviathan escaped back into the ocean. Number 17. Sharash Ho, a descendant of Cthulhu. And finally, we have the prowler among the tombs and the father of all ghouls, Cthulhu's descendant, Sharash Ho. He seemingly mated with Based to become the progenitor of the ghouls. Some sources state that he may be a deep one, while other sources have given the title of being the father of ghouls to Nug. However, with Nug never having visited Earth, people do assume that the title rightfully belongs to Sharash Ho, who is also the father of a ghoul named Yogash. He was mentioned in one of Lovecraft's letters to James F. Morton, who is referred to as a descendant of Cthulhu who spawned Kabah the Serpent and Goth the Burrower. Apparently, Goth impregnated a noblewoman from Rome named Vibernia, who was actually the ancestor of H.P. Lovecraft himself. Marvelous Verdict. A look at science fiction, creature-based movies and television shows from the modern day presents to us the extent of Lovecraft's impact, with many of the horrifying creatures being tentacled and slimy, such as Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean films, and also the Demogorgons from Stranger Things. In fact, it is commonplace for us to expect the mysterious creature to look visceral. We are also presented with stories with premises that the mind just simply can't comprehend, as such things are very likely to happen in the world that we know. The essence of such topics are, and always will be, Lovecraftian. And with that, today's video comes to an end. What did you think about Cthulhu's family tree? Who are your favorites? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. Until next time, have a good one and be safe.